And remember, the top of the box represents where the lightest, where we're tinting, and then we're slowly adding color, and then black to shade it. On the right side, we are toning our color by adding the complement to of the paint. So we are doing the third primary color, which is yellow. And we are going to be, remember, yellow is the hardest one to do. So you want to make sure that we keep our two different paints, several brushes to keep our paints clean. And we're going to get started. So, remember, as we get started, what's the complement of yellow? Who remembers? Violet. Violet, very good. So I got to make my violet real quickly. I did have the red. So I'm just using that leftover blue that I had. To make my violets really quickly in the corner. Alrighty, good deal. And if anybody needs some of my violet, you can use it. So what you're going to do is we always start with the white first to get your color. Remember, yellow is the most transparent of all the colors, and that's why we're doing it last, because it's the most difficult. And it eats the paint. So as we are mixing the colors, remember to add small amounts. So the first thing we're going to do, remember, a tiny dot of yellow into that white. Remember, always start lightly, because I can always go back and add more. And once it's too dark, it's harder to lighten it. So right now I'm making the lightest tint of yellow. And that looks great. So it almost looks white, but it's not. And I still need to add a little bit more. Yellow is the most difficult one. So just got to be a little bit more patient. There we go. Remember, as you are mixing your colors, always scoop from the top. There we go. And now you're going to make sure that you're painting it the top of your tower. And I want to make sure I'm using enough paint. So if you need to, you can liberally put it on. Make sure you don't push down too hard. If you push down too hard, it actually pulls the paint right off the surface. So it should be thick enough, but smooth. Thick enough so I don't see that line. So I did the top of my tower. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to keep adding a little bit more yellow. Remember, going slow. And the goal is to make it a little bit darker than that top. It's our first level in the tower. Those of you that are done should have the Chromebooks out and researching your image for the color wheel assignments. So now I'm doing my first level of yellow. And as I'm going to take some of that paint that we just mixed, and I'm going to put it next to me. Remember, I'm trying to make the same color, but I'm slowly going to add yellow and violet together on that second pool of paint over here to tone my color. Remember, I want it to be the same color, but I want it to look like it's darker in shade. So I've already mixed my purple. That's a lot of violet. So I'm going to kind of wipe that off. Because I just want a tiny bit. I'm going to wash it off too, just to make sure I don't have too much. Because I just want a little bit. I don't want it to look purple. So notice how it doesn't look violet or purple. It's going to look a little bit gray. So I want it to look like that color. Just a tiny bit. There we go. And I want to keep that color separated. I don't want to mix that into my main area because then that'll turn everything that color. So the first one is very subtle. Remember, yellow is the most delicate because it's the most transparent. So it's kind of hard to see that change a little bit, but it's very subtle. In fact, I might need to add a little bit more violet. I do. There we go. So it's good to, adjust as you go. Don't rush. I just adjusted that one. And the next step, I'm going to come back to my main color. And I'm going to add more yellow. Remember, if you're having trouble seeing the color changes, that means you need to add more color. And yellow is the hardest one. Perfect. You might need more paint. So now moving to the next level. So it should be a little bit more yellow. And I'm going to leave that color there. And now I'm going to come back over to my complement color, the toning area, and I'm going to add some more yellow to it. So I'm trying to keep up. It already has the violet in it, so it's gray. But I'm adding more yellow to it so that it stays in balance with my original color. And I'm going to paint it on that side. Remember, we want it to look like it's the same color, except it's in shadow, which is hence toning it. Not shading, toning. So toning is adding the complement to dull your color down or to making it darker. Alrighty. Now I'm going to do the next level. Going back to my original color. I'm going to wipe off as much as I can so I can get it clean. And I'm going to add more yellow. I said that you need a picture for your color wheel. It's so important. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. My complement has the violet in it, but I need to add more yellow. If you need to come up and look at it, you can. It's always free for you to come up and see. Sometimes you miss a lot of the details on that screen. So I'm moving to the next level. One good thing, one way to help you too, because as your yellow is the hardest one to see, if you're not sure if it's moving up enough, you can always put a tiny amount of the paint down and squint your eyes. Just put it here. If that's too similar, you can always adjust and add more yellow. I had you guys wait to do yellow because it was the hardest one to do, and you have to use a lot of paint for it to show up. I'm going to scoot some of that into there. Need a little bit more yellow. I think I might need a little bit more violet. I'm trying to keep it. I'm adding more violet and yellow as I go up. Or down, I should say. Remember, the second to the last is going to be yellow. So I like to get my yellow and paint that in that square and make sure it's nice and even. It's just pure yellow straight from that tube. Remember, as you start to add, if it's too brown, that means you're adding too much complement color to it. On the other side of my yellow, I'm going to add black to it. And then down below, it's going to be yellow. Yeah, yellow and black. And then over here, it's going to be these two colors with a little bit of green. So I have my yellow. And so now I can... There's a lot of paint there, so I'm just going to take some of that out. The storm sounds so pretty. And then on that side, I'm going to add violet. Oops. I added too much, so I need to adjust it. I'm going to add more yellow. So I added way too much, so it got really dark. Remember, you just need tiny amounts, like dots. And it should look almost, it looked a little greenish even. And then finally, when you do the yellow, the pure yellow, remember we don't want any white. So it should just be black and yellow. And the black and yellow, you'll notice, starts to look a little brown. Make sure you don't have any white, or it'll look gray. If it looks gray, that means your paints are dirty. It should look brown. Did you find your eye?
No.
Okay, we gotta find your eye. That's what you're supposed to start. We're gonna start on that. Those pieces that were done. Alrighty. And then we're adding violet to that color. I think that's it. And did you find you're supposed to research your image for your color wheel? Did you get that?
Well, I already know what I'm doing, but I didn't get my image yet.
So you have to email it to me.
From my phone, so I'm gonna email it to you at once.
Okay, that's what you're supposed to do. It's supposed to get your images. And what I wanted you to pick at least 1 to 2 images in case the one you picked doesn't work.
I wanted to do my own. I didn't want to get work off of it.
Okay, so but I still want you to have at least 2 images to select from.
Okay.
And right here, yeah. Yellow and green, or violet. What's going on? Yeah, bathroom passes. You know what a bathroom pass is? As soon as she comes back, yes. Hmm? Yep. It could be.
Like, I mean, my colors look fine.
Yeah. And when you do your projects, you're going to want to use more paint.
And we're just picking one color to do our eye with.
Yes. You have to pick your color. We're going to actually do the color wheel first. I was just having you guys get, yeah. I was just kind of, yeah. So that's why I needed everybody's picture so I can print it off. That's yours. So you're going to put your name on it. And I'll get the board. I can hold on to the, put your name and block number. And so you don't lose it, put it in your storage area.